Is it? No. I mean, quite frankly, they'd like to be a state cop. They like to say they don't get enough money. They always win. No, I don't see any state police. Right.
Video. I'm gonna try to videotape the whole thing, and then I'll put it on YouTube or something so everyone has access.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe shoot me a link to the township.
I will. I'll definitely, Becky. Absolutely. They kind of look like a little, kind of dangerous looking, you know.
I know.
They're all black and, you know.
Peters.
Yeah.
Skulls under helmets or something.
That's Senator Gary Peters.
So we're gonna clear from now on?
Yep, from now on it's crystal clear.
Sunny,
Yeah. No, not
the sun will be shining. There was some pretty rough weather.
Yeah.
Didn't show up on weather radar, but it was there.
Nice to hear a little Elton John as you pull up.
What kind of storm?
Stealth.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a bike trip if you don't ride in the rain though.
It's enough to lose faith in Michigan meteorologists.
You had faith in them?
Yeah, exactly.
I used to.
Sorry, we're running behind. Then there's trucks that don't want to go as fast as we want to go. And when it's raining, you really can't pass them. That's not good.
2 hours. Yeah, actually.
He knows who I am. I've had my fair share of words with him in the past. You know. It's been a while.
We'll see what we can do. That's the whole goal. Oh, we do. Oh, okay, Jake, so you're going to help him. You're not doing all by yourself.
He's the engineer.
Oh, you're the engineer. Okay.
All right, Wayne, it's a pleasure. Good to see you. Thanks for being out here.
Jeff, I'm doing. I'm the vice chair board. Oh, you're here in force.
Right.
Good. So you're putting on real pressure to make sure you get money for this project.
Good. You want to do that?
Carol, it's everything here. This is Becky Chow. Filling in for
Nice to see you.
filling in for Isaiah with the township.
Yes. Yeah, I'm the clerk of Peninsula Township. Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Thank you very much.
Tom Seaver.
Oh, hey, Tom. Good to see you. My friends from FEMA. We're doing great. We're doing great. Good.
Good to see you. You're going to talk about good stuff.
Absolutely,
So I
sir.
appreciate you coming out here today.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having us. It's getting there.
It was always beautiful. I mean, I like this ride at Old Mission Peninsula. There's just nothing better.
Yeah,
than
you
it. It's
betcha.
like, oh my God. You got country, right?
No argument from you.
Mike Stursky, HOA president.
Oh, great.
Where you will be in.
Well, as we check it all out.
Forsyth, Grand Traverse County.
Oh, wonderful.
It looks like a great ride, but it looks a little hot there. It looks like,
Do I look hot? I don't think that's sweat. I think that's rain. That's rain. Yeah, it's coming through my rain jacket and my
That's just a modern baptism.
I like that. I like that.
yeah, so
Hello.
I'm Phil.
Hi, Carol.
I'm the treasurer of the HOA, and I met you last year at the Biden
Oh, yes, yeah.
thing at Peninsula.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, that was a really fun event.
Yeah, so happy that we made the sign.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, no, really good.
like that connection.
Yeah.
Setting up.
Remember, we met at the King's Lake.
Oh, last year too. Yeah, you're out there. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Just got an hour plus with your wife.
Yes,
Waiting for you guys to get out of the field.
And Joe's way behind what he does.
We enjoyed meeting her. It was good. Oh, that was good. She enjoyed that too. Good. Well, welcome. I'm glad I could come back up and see what you're doing here. Here's this is from the local committee for Bluff Road. Oh, okay. Been very active in trying to get something done with the shoreline problem.
How you doing? Good to see you as well. Good to see you.
Dave McLaren, part of the HOA board.
Oh, hi, Dave.
Welcome.
Oh, good to be here. Thanks.
There's Wayne, Dave McClary. We've met before. How are you? Yeah. Back when I used to live down at the base of the peninsula. I'm out here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little further out.
Yep.
At the high water marks.
Okay. So, Tom's gonna speak first. Then you. Okay. Then Chris, then Mike, when we get down. So we're just gonna tour the first.
The shoreline.
Sort of see line down to the dock. You know,
Wonderful.
And a number of the
I need another inch on these shoes so that my pants don't drag.
So where was this? Well, I guess we'll see later. Where was the water level? Yeah. So here to here. Right. 2 feet. About 2 trillion years.
This is the area.
Yes, but I have been told no uncertain terms by my wife. That the trees fell over, pulled off. Kind of a sad story.
one of the trees is still there.
So how far this went out to the rocks, basically?
Yeah, we went off. Basically, you cut straight across, went a little bit past the rock. And now we became had a continuous slide, probably augmented with surface water.
Right.
And as you go farther down, you see what we've been able to do is armor up about 200 of HOA and a couple property owners. In addition, we've done nearly 300. So we got 500. Try to do it in a natural way, so we don't get the stuff that we do on sea level. And we think that's the way to do it, especially in the area here where you want it to look natural. You don't want it to look like the forest area. We're bringing people in with property money. Right. It's tourism, but initially, last couple of years, we're seeing an increase. The people that want to relocate to the area that want to go, we're the fastest growing area in Michigan. And it's not going to get any less. So we're really excited about this. Rather than individuals working together to do something we can coordinate with the government to make it happen for a long way and build those buffers and those edges that keep the water better under control. I don't want to control it, but you can minimize the effect. So that's really what we're trying to do is we do something, but now we're getting into the area here. We can't do anything until the water is clean again because our property line is more like basically until we start sitting in the area. If we do something, it's got to be coordinated with what and it's not inexpensive. No, it's not. It's almost expensive. What we've done is and it goes the closure
Get a little better view looking down here, Senator Peters.
100 feet right now. Like you can.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's.
But yeah, so what's happening all along here? It's probably been eating away.
It starts to eat away, but what we, the way we do it too is we establish everything. So when you just put stone in, you don't get any pull.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens when you just dump the rock. You get that action where it just starts weeping up all of a sudden. You get a storm. Right. And we call this area. When you get a northeaster, you get a storm. You get a beach buster. When you get a southeaster, you get a beach maker.
Oh, okay.
It
Yeah,
pushes
right.
the
Pushing
sand,
the sand up here.
and the other one pulls the sand down.
Yeah,
so
right.
sooner or later you'll even out. But 10 years ago,
Putting my telecommunications
you
degree
can
to
see
work here today with
we
the
had
camera. It's been a
300
long
feet.
time.
We needed 300 feet of dock to get up to the water where you could put 3 feet, put your boat in. And you can see now, completely different. So it's really a different situation. I think that the Storm Act is what's going to really help because we can now look at larger areas. We can do it with a coordinated plan, and we can get some engineers to study I'll call it the highly susceptible areas, which otherwise it's just strictly up to individuals.
Yeah.
And that can be a plus and a minus.
Right. Yeah.
So, but if you take a walk down, you can see what we've done. Maybe
What is that area? Is this just for the house?
That's our parking for the
that's
HOA.
the parking.
Oh, for the
There's 25 properties up in the HOA that are up there.
Oh, interesting.
And then this is, as Mike was saying, we've got, what, 300?
We got 350.
350 feet of shared frontage
Shared
here.
property for
And then,
all that.
and then
Your
there's a
boats
couple
are down
property
here.
owners and whatnot farther down. Yeah, everything needed to be rebuilt.
Silent, and then I think, and then or he might be sort of go left, like a little bit there. And then that piece, we're gonna use them.
All right, great. Okay. Thank you for playing down with Scratch for your son. Well, it would be about halfway up. You can't even see some of them. Yeah. Well, not quite that high, but that's about 3.5 feet. But what we did is we've got things, some whole stones that are 4 feet in. Now, since it's been a little bit of a beach, but you can see we've got the natural
I hope our dock is.
So what's the, we're gonna speak first, yeah, right? I'll wrap it all up. You put up all the wisdom out there. I'll just try to deal with the camera here. Push you why don't you come out, Nolan? Come on over here.
Sorry.
Kind of make me around here and say a few words. I'm ready when you are. All right. It's really great.
Before we start, if I put a mic on you.
Yeah, that's fine. Our wet shirt here, hopefully I won't short out.
Yeah.
If you do, we'll just push you right
We
in.
have a doctor.
Oh, we have a doctor?
Yeah, we have a doctor.
That's good. That's always good to have a doctor.
It's a little damp right down the center. It looks like the rain came right down.
Sure the rain was coming. It was kind of refreshing.
So you're up in Gary?
Rather than the rain.
I was there with the funeral and they didn't think I remembered you.
Yeah.
No. I'm
Sorry, are you?
okay. So you're
You look so good.
What's that?
You look so good.
They're going to have the real work.
I hope better.
We need to hear from you. You're the ones that are dealing with this day in and day out.
Wired to sound.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. Sounds good.
All right. We'll start. Okay, well, good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us as we announce a new financial resource from the Biden administration to build disaster resilience and safeguard the future of the cities and towns we call home. I want to thank Senator Peters for organizing the event today and making this program a reality to the communities and towns across the state and across our beautiful nation. Senator Peters, as chairman of FEMA's authorizing committee in the Senate, led the effort to bring the STORM Act to fruition, from conception to authorization to securing funding in the bipartisan infrastructure law. Thank you, Senator, for all of your leadership, especially at this crucial time. I also want to recognize local leaders who are here today. With us, we have Becky Choan, we have Chris Forsyth, and Mike Skursky. Partnerships are truly the backbone of emergency management, and it takes the whole community to successfully combat the increasing risks we face. Climate change is the biggest crisis in this country. It makes natural disasters more frequent and destructive, and this pattern will continue for the foreseeable future. Left unaddressed, these challenges pose unacceptable risks to our communities. These disaster events and many others require bold action from your government leaders. Last year, we embarked on an incredibly aggressive journey to do just that, build communities that are prepared and stronger in the face of future disaster threats. We've made notable progress towards this goal, and today's notice of intent for a future funding opportunity to provide $50 million for the new Safeguarding Tomorrow revolving loan fund program advances these efforts even more. And this is just initial funding for a multi-year $500 million commitment to the program and important work it will work with financially to support. We are empowering applicants to make funding decisions and award loans directly. The revolving loan funds will help our partners carry out projects that reduce disaster risks and help build climate resilience. The threat from our changing climate cannot be overstated. I know it's being felt right here in Traverse City, with increasing coastal erosion, flooding, and rising water levels. Together, through tools like the Safeguarding Tomorrow revolving loan fund, we can and will protect communities now and in the future. Thank you, Senator.
Yes. Good afternoon. I'm Becky Chown, and I'm the clerk of Peninsula Township. And I want to thank you, Senator Peters, for joining us on this misty, moisty, classic northern Michigan late summer afternoon here on the Old Mission Peninsula. As you know, the 48 miles of shoreline that define this slender body of land are an essential part of our community. But rising water levels in the Great Lakes have caused erosion that is putting our homes, our roads, and our residents at risk. Bluff Road is a prime example of the real impact shoreline erosion has had on our community. As a result of the significant damage that has caused this portion of the road to be closed, we have had to reroute traffic, not only the private homeowners living along this stretch, but also school buses and first responders, such as ambulances and fire trucks, to ensure that people can get around safely. Meanwhile, gas and electrical lines remain inaccessible, with significant corresponding safety concerns. As coastal erosion continues to worsen, we need to ensure our infrastructure is up to date and up to the task to prevent further damage here and elsewhere. But communities like ours don't always have the resources to invest in projects that will address the issues wholly and effectively. Thanks to Senator Peters' work, the bipartisan infrastructure law includes a significant federal investment in Senator Peters' STORM Act loan program, which could take a lot of the immediate financial burden off our residents when we need to pay for much needed but costly upgrades, such as building seawalls mitigate the effects of coastal erosion. As township clerk with oversight of our budget, I know that one of our big challenges, besides repairing the road for use again, is preventing further erosion along this critical roadway that connects many of our residents and vacationers to businesses and essential services. Funding made available by the Storm Act could help our township implement the needed infrastructure to prevent this additional erosion without putting the costs onto local taxpayers. I appreciate Senator Peters' efforts to ensure that communities like Peninsula Township will have another avenue of assistance as we work to combat coastal erosion and build the resilient infrastructure that will keep our communities safe. Once the Storm Act loan program is up and running, I have no doubt that Peninsula Township will apply on behalf of our community to protect our homes, our residents, and our families. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Forsyth. I'm Deputy County Administrator for Grand Traverse County. I'm pleased to be here today to join Senator Peters and other local leaders to talk about how shoreline erosion has impacted businesses and residents throughout Grand Traverse County, and how Senator Peters' Storm Act would be an extremely valuable tool in helping to protect our shores and our economy. There's no question that our economy here locally and throughout the state is reliant on the Great Lakes, the vast wildlife and ecosystem, and the beachfronts that line it. The coastal erosion, as you can see here along Bluff Road, caused by rising water levels, has not only had an immediate impact on our residents and their homes, but it continues to have an impact on our local economy and our community by threatening local businesses and our critical tourism industry. Tourism is an essential part of our local economy here in Grand Traverse County. That's why it's important for local governments to help protect local attractions like the beachfront here along Bluff Road, but also across the Grand Traverse Bay. I appreciate Senator Peters and his efforts to launch the Storm Act loan program to allow communities to make early investments in resilient infrastructure so it can stand up to coastal erosion. These kinds of early investments are more cost-effective for taxpayers and ensure our tourism industry continues to thrive by keeping our coastlines pristine and intact. So that's why the Storm Act is going to be critical for our economies here locally and in our state. It will require comprehensive upgrades to their infrastructure to effectively combat the coastal erosion and rising water levels we've seen in recent years. So again, thank you, Senator Peters, for your work on this, and thank you for being here with all of us.
I'm Mike Skirsky, I'm president of the Mission Health HOA, whose dock we're all standing on right now. Well, I want to thank Senator Peters for being able to pull all this together, not only people that you're seeing here, but resources that you put into the motion to get this launched. On Peninsula and throughout the Great Lakes. So I really appreciate that, because what you're seeing is really the necessity to put some materials and forethought into protecting the beaches, the shoreline that we have. That's the most valuable thing that we have on this peninsula. It draws in the tourists. We have an industry basically that's built on tourism, but also now with what we've seen in the last couple of years, when people can move wherever they want. We're seeing that this shoreline, the water, the weather is drawing people from everywhere because they can work anywhere. I think that's an important thing to start thinking about, is that it's not only just for the residents, it's not for the tourism, but we can build a second and bigger industries as we go forward. So, it's really, but it is important to keep the property lines open, the roads open, safety, etc. Because we can't, as residents, it's very difficult for us to engineering, the finances, and the materials together to protect our shoreline. Not everyone can afford to do so. And by Senator Peters is doing the Storm Act is opening up so we get the leadership of the local authorities to put larger programs together with financing that now everyone can afford, and basically save what we have in the peninsula
protect ourselves in the future from what we know is going to be another series of rising waters in the years to come. So, Senator Peters, I really want to show you our appreciation for helping the citizens that live on the peninsula and basically help protect the shoreline for everybody else. A little helping hand is very much appreciated.
Well, it's good to be with all of you, and it's good to be helping hand, but obviously we have to all do this together. We need a lot of hands involved in order to deal with the issue and the climate crisis, which is really what is behind the Storm Act. I'm here, and this is my second stop now on my motorcycle tour across the state, which I do every single year. I think it's fitting that as I was coming to the Storm Act press conference, we went through some storms, still wet from that. Those were not just the mist that we're seeing right now, they were full-on storms that we had to go through, and that's really what's going to happen. We know that with climate change, what's occurring with that is that we're going to have more storms, the frequency will increase, and their intensity will increase. So we need to be prepared for that. And that's also the changes with climate have an impact on rising levels of the Great Lakes as well. All of these systems are working in conjunction and going to create a real challenge for us going forward. Certainly a local challenge that we're seeing here with your homeowner association, with the township. This kind of damage is incredibly expensive to fix. It's difficult for local units to be able to do that. And so we were looking, and certainly I was focused on how do we provide resources to help communities help themselves and deal with resiliency. I'm so pleased that we're working with FEMA. I have the privilege of overseeing FEMA as chair of Homeland Security, and my friends at FEMA do an amazing job when it comes to a natural disaster. They're there on the spot, helping people and picking up all of the pieces. But we also know when you pick up all of those pieces after a storm, that's really expensive. The human toll, of course, is can't calculate, but just the physical infrastructure is very expensive to pick it all up. And it makes a whole lot more sense, given the fact that we know storms are coming, to actually build infrastructure stronger to actually withstand the storms. So you save taxpayer money, and it's been estimated every dollar that we invest in resilience to make sure that you build this, when you rebuild this, it will be rebuilt much more resilient. And when that occurs, it ends up saving taxpayers $6 for every dollar we invest. I spent a lot of time in the investment business prior to being in public service. That's really a good investment. If I could tell someone you put in $1, you return $6, they would jump on that investment. And we need to do that as the federal government, and certainly FEMA has leaned in. I'm very pleased with the announcement this month that they're now setting up. I put in the authorizing legislation, but authorizing legislation only works when you can actually fund it, which we did in the bipartisan infrastructure bill. First tranche of $500 million. Your announcement today that you're now putting the pieces together to allow states to start implementing the program. The states will do it, working in close conjunction with FEMA and then local communities. So townships can apply through the grant-making process, have a low-interest loan, basically no interest loan, pay that off over time. And it's a revolving fund. This money isn't going to go away. Once it's paid back, we just continue to reinvest in local communities and constantly rebuild infrastructure all across the country. We're at $500 million now. I hope to increase that. And again, that's money that saves taxpayers money, and it'll be there permanently as a source of resources that local municipalities can tie into. So it was important for me to be here to see this firsthand. This is a prime example of what the Storm Act works, and I'm sure FEMA will be writing those or working with state governments in a way to make sure communities like yours are ones that are going to have an opportunity to get the loan to go forward. So thank you for being here today, and thank you for bringing this issue to our attention. And you speak for a lot of folks all across the state of Michigan with rising lake levels and the storms that are impacting our communities, and we have to find meaningful solutions. Having said that, this is we have to have resiliency, but we also have to try to mitigate climate change from occurring in the first place. And so the recent Inflation Reduction Act that we just passed is a significant investment in dealing with climate change and renewable energy, changing the way that we generate power in sustainable ways to hopefully slow down the climate change that we're already seeing. But while that's occurring, because that takes time, let's build everything more resilient in the meantime, and that's what this fund is all about. So it's great to be here, and we look forward to working with the local community to make this a reality and fix problems like we see here today. So with that, questions?
Yeah, I'm sure you've been to quite a few nights like this? Does it ever surprise you or catch you off guard just how bad it's gotten?
It did initially. Now you realize this is kind of the norm, is that these problems get very big very, very quickly. And so and when a storm hits, sometimes you don't even realize how vulnerable a piece of infrastructure may be until the storm hits, and then it collapses in a catastrophic way, which is an example of had we invested in making more resilient infrastructure and identifying potential problems before they occur. It's not cheap, but it's a whole lot cheaper than it is to fix a problem once it gets so bad like we're seeing here right now. And this is not unique. What we're seeing here in Old Mission Point are problems all across the state of Michigan. As I travel across the Michigan communities are looking for resources. They're willing to invest. They have to pay these loans back. They're willing to make those investments, but they need access to capital, and they need it at a very low interest rate, especially as interest rates are going up now. This will be even more powerful that communities are able to lock in these loans and make those investments and work with FEMA. It's great to have FEMA in the lead, looking at how we make our infrastructure more resilient. So even after a disaster occurs, when we rebuild, we can't rebuild to the standards that existed before because we know those don't withstand the storms. All the rebuilding also has to be done to higher standards. So this is a step to correct the way we've done things in the past and make things more sustainable and more resilient.
Bottom line, how would you expect this funding to affect the timeline of getting this issue fixed? And since it is a loan that would have to be paid back, what would you expect sort of the burden to be for taxpayers in the end?
So you want to do the timeline?
Yeah, absolutely.
How it moves forward.
So the timeline today is day one. So for day one, it's the notice of intent. Come this fall, there'll be a notice of funding opportunity, and then that would start the timeline of when local townships, communities can apply in conjunction with the state. So as we go forward the timeline, that's the next step in this process. It's resiliency is a long haul approach when you look at building back stronger. And that's where we find ourselves today, is starting off at day one.
Yeah, today is the actual announcement. FEMA is announcing today. This is the big launch. It was right here on the deck of your homeowners association. the launch of
put up a flag.
You heard the
started.
This is day one.
Here.
Day one was right here.
Day one.
So it is. This is day one. So, but fall, you're on a pretty aggressive schedule.
Yeah, aggressive schedule into next year.
It'll be run through the state. FEMA sets up a program, but it runs through the state. So you'll go through the process, the state of Michigan, but we would hope that early next year money is starting to be available.
And the burden on taxpayers?
Go ahead, Mike.
It's not insignificant. I mean, the issue gets to be, two sides. Where is the locations that you really need to do? And you have to do two things. One is fix what's broken, which is what you see here. And then the other one is, as the senator says, you got to do some preventative. So when you look at the engineering that you need to do, it's it can run anywhere from $400 to $1,000 a foot sometimes. Our view is always to minimize seawalls, etc., because they damage adjacent flats and beaches. So putting something that's more natural, it does the same as a natural brick or stone front, and it's still very appropriate for use. So it's going to be, depending on how much you have to do, and then if you have some stuff coming in a period, so you start doing some math and you can figure that out. Spread it over how many homeowners are in the government association that's going to be handling this. Numbers are not insignificant at one time, but spread over 20 years, well worth it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and maybe just pick up because it's exactly right. So when you think about the cost of the taxpayers, by doing nothing, you have a catastrophic failure, like we saw right here. And that cost, based on that formula, to fix this will cost 6 times the amount of what it would cost to put in the resilience up front. So the impact to the taxpayer is actually positive because we know these disasters are going to occur. We know storms are going to occur. That's not going to change. In fact, they're likely to become more severe in the years ahead. So the cost to taxpayers will be huge to deal with the changes that we're seeing in climate. And if we can spend money today, $1 to save $6 later, that is a real bargain for taxpayers.
There is certainly an educational component to this as well. The township is going to have to do a wonderful job of reaching out to the citizens and helping them understand why it is so necessary to make this investment. And we're mighty glad to have some support in figuring out how to pay for it. But we don't have a choice. And we realize that, and we're just extremely grateful to be partnering with you, Senator. And thank you.
I have one more, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
Would this funding be something that Gaylord could maybe take advantage of after their tornado, especially now that you know, it has been ruled that there's no FEMA designation for them?
Yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, this is storms broadly. We're talking about rising lake levels and flooding, which are particularly problematic problems for us here in Michigan, but clearly tornado damage, any other kinds of resilience for any kind of natural disasters. So you know, you'll see communities out west will do resilience for wildfires, and Florida will use it for resilience for hurricanes. Every region, every state has a different set of natural disasters, and it'll be available for all of us.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. So is this for all 50 states?
Yeah, it's all 50 states.
Okay. All right, that was not something I should do.
It's a national program. So,
yeah, thank you. I will let you know if I have any questions. Yeah, good to know you too.
Don't step back.
Yes, I got the email from your office. So, okay, perfect. Okay. Well, very good. Thank you so much.
Have no business being here.
Well, we should have put that on the camera.
It's a great structure.
Turn it back on.
Turn the cameras back on.
Turn that camera back on.
I forgot. I didn't want to mention that because that was something that you should say.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
But if this is back to the day one, where's our record eagle?
Oh, Record Eagle.
Record eagle. I think it's important too.
It's an encore.
Total encore. I think this is important for your story too.
Okay.
That FEMA's never done this before, so if you
Yeah,
want a chance to talk to the
absolutely. So this is the first time for FEMA to be able to work with a revolving loan program. So this is just the beginning of the great opportunities we have in front of us. So as Senator Peters said, it's continuing to grow, and this will be our initial opportunity to make this happen.
Yeah, this is a whole new endeavor for FEMA, and so I was pleased that my legislation passed, signed into law, and now FEMA will be embarking on a program that has never existed before. But I'm very confident it will be incredibly successful in the years to come.
Thank you.
This is a little off topic maybe, but why wasn't Gaylord given that federal designation, the emergency?
On the Gaylord tornado?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, first thing, disasters all start local, it goes local, state, federal. And the state of Michigan and Gaylord as a community came together and they were able to focus on that opportunity. So when you look at what resilience is all about, it's about a community being prepared. And with Gaylord, they were able to work with the local nonprofit organizations, community organizations active in disaster, and the state of Michigan to be able to help rebuild that community.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Absolutely. All disasters start local now.
There's thresholds, thresholds for help. So because we can't do every disaster.
And they were able to take care of it.
They did. Michigan did a great job.
State of Michigan.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Yep.
Day one right here on this dock.
Okay. No, I just went.
Just clear it out. Sure. Gotcha. I know.
Yeah.
Do I get to keep these?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
You can hear me on my website.
Okay. Very good. Thank
You can hear my comments so I can do the story. Yeah, I'll do one.
Good questions.
Thank you.
right, I'll be on video. Yeah, it was excellent. Everybody did a good job. So I'm recording still. That's all right. I'm just gonna get up walking up. That's all right.
So this Jay guy claiming that this work that Jason did is substandard compared to what they did north of the barricade. He said this will never. Hi there.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
You didn't get my photo.
Oh, did you want me to?
No, of course not. Everybody wants me to come after me. Yeah, it's just total bullshit. He says, oh, Jason,
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, cool. My boss said that. Maybe. Okay. Sweet. No,
Thanks for having me.
and that's a big part of it.
Yeah, traveling is not
Oh, I will, yes.
I just advised Glenn and I
Yeah,
are
so I
taking
will
our
do this.
son
She
out
enjoyed talking with you
to
too, I remember that.
Oregon in
Yeah.
a week and a half.
you gonna drive it?
No, we're gonna fly.
Yeah, I'll see these guys up and then I'll come over. Oh, the river.
All right.
Yeah, in
Thanks for
Eugene.
checking up here.
Yeah.
Thank you for all you do.
Yeah, I think so. But I think
got my car to give you.
quite a rough town.
Oh, young worship. We're heading there now, heading north as we head north. So it'll be good.
See you the next time.
All right, let's roll. Sounds good. Thank you, Senator. Appreciate you being here again. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right, you're going that way? Yeah, my car's down this way. All right. See ya.
I guess our rule